the final video of, actually I think it's going to be the first video of 2026. The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. And this is C.L. Clarke's debut novel. It is from, let's see if we can find it here, 2021. So, and it's part of a series called Magic of the Lost. There we go, found it. So, let's talk about this cover. So, the cover here is very much, it's borderlining monochromatic in a way, in an interesting way. Because it is very just the yellow and brown hues, and even the yellow stay in the same brownish hues. So we're going to ignore the characters now. So we have the doors here that are kind of being slammed open. The idea is, of course, for that to symbolize we are opening up, we are throwing away the gates, we are breaking free, basically. That's a big theme in this book. And then we have the army in the back here. And if we just do this so you can see, so at least we have the hints of an army. And that's of course the revolution we're going to be talking about. And we have the sand, which is a huge part, and it's kind of flowing around her in a magical-esque way. I guess we could argue it's the magic of the people from this, it's like a fantasy Egypt / Arabia styled thing. At least that's how I'd like to imagine when reading it. And in the background we have a flag showing. I do believe it's supposed to be the what's called the revolutionaries. And then we have the character. The character who slams open the door is Rhea, our main character. And I know that because in the acknowledgements, C.L. Clarke back here states so. And that's of course because she is the first one from the army to break free, and she does a lot of trying to do stuff. Now, C.L. Clarke wrote this book here. Of course, I don't know where I was going with that. So, is it a nice cover? I think it's very symbolic for what she's going for. It is, in a way, person with sword, but it is a little interesting. There's a little things going on. There's probably, if you want to go way more in depth with the character, there's probably a lot more references than I can. Like this cape, I do believe they wear a cape of a kind, so we do have the red cape up here. Could also argue around it, like the red around the throat symbolizes the blood and the constant threat of being abandoned by the army. So, do I like this cover? I like it. I think it's fine. I like the little text up here. I think it's fine, the little blurb. I probably wouldn't have put it in if it was me making the decision. Definitely would not have this blurb by Andrea Stewart. I always appreciate when the book title is bigger than the author. But yeah, it's a really good job done by... cover design by Lauren Penepinto. And illustration by, let's see if we can have it, please, hello, Tommy Arnold. And the photo is by Jovia McLeod. So good job to all three of them. They should be pretty happy about it. They can be proud of it, and C.L. Clarke can definitely be happy about it. Now, the book follows Rhea. She is, she's a sergeant in the army. She's from one of the colonies. It's very much a colonizing, like story of colonizers coming and taking over. And they're stationed here in Casal City down here. And that's where they're being stationed. And then it follows her as she tries to do stuff to manage this world. She wants to prove that even though she is not white French, because everyone here is French, at least the name. I at first thought they were British-inspired colony because of Egypt, but I do believe I rather want to say like they're the French North African colonies inspired. But it really does make a difference, at least like with the French or the British part. Of course, you could argue it makes a difference in Egypt or Algeria, but I don't know enough about those, like how to read the different cultures, because I don't know anything about Algerian culture. So I'm just gonna say like they're North Africa or Arabia, because a lot of it, some of it does scream Arabia towards me, but again, that might be me not knowing enough about this world, of our world. And if so, please leave a comment enlightening me. I'd like to know more. Now, she wants to prove to the French army that these colonizers or colonized people can be important and valuable in the army. So she tries to do all the right things. And she saves the princess from a assassination attack, and you know, that's all well and good. But then she is held because she helped some escape or whatever, something like that. It was not something she did. I don't remember quite how she got into being called a traitor. So of course, and given she's black, basically that's like the argument is you're black, but really it's because she's from a colony. Kind of the same, but technically different. She is right away just, alright, they just want to kill her, and they do. But then the princess saves her, and she becomes a liaison of the princess, and the princess teaches her a lot of things, and she tries to teach the princess some stuff. I do like this. I enjoy the romance that grows between the two of them. It doesn't instantly, it takes slow. Like, they're both instantly, oh, that person is hot. But, you know, that's very common. I also see people and I go, oh, damn, that's hot. But that's different from being in love. And I don't mind that. I think C.L. Clarke did a really great job building up some chemistry between them. And it's mainly because the princess wants to prove that she can become a... can be the regent of the world. Right now it's her uncle taking over, and she's gotten the colony to prove herself because she's a woman. And her way of doing it is she wants to establish a lasting peace by making peace with the revolutionaries. And so we go through all of this back and forth where Rhea is used as a liaison between the two parts to prove herself and all. And it's great. It's a lot of interesting fun. It's clear to see that these revolutionaries, they are fighters, but not in the traditional sense, and they are not as... They are very centralized, but they're not the same way. Like, they're still quite decentralized. They don't control a lot. They just more or less have areas where they're like, yeah, this is where we have a chance, but not really we win the fight here. And it's great. It's great fun. At some point, Rhea, because she's still very attached to the general, because the general is like a mentor to her, she like lets the general know that, oh, part of the peace deal is the revolutionaries gets weapons. Of course, these are old weapons, and they're not even guaranteed they work. That's like the princess' argument for it being fine. It's like 100 guns, and maybe half works. But you know, of course, the general, Rhea thinks the general is just gonna siege the warehouse, and then everyone's gonna see, oh shit, the army realized it, and it's not the princess' fault. What the general does instead is attack the revolutionaries. And a lot of shit ensues, and Rhea ends up joining the revolutionaries because she gets shot and they heal her with magic. We get explained a lot of the magic. Get to know early on, like really, really early actually, the magic is talked about, and we get hints that it's supposed to be there, but we don't really see it. It's mainly the princess who cares about it. And I think that's a huge strength for C.L. Clarke's writing. That, I mean, okay, this series is called Magic of the Lost. We know magic is there, but I did not realize that was the name of the series, to be honest. So to me, she managed to keep me somewhat... Maybe it's not there, you know? Maybe it is just a story. And she managed to keep a lot more going for it. And she managed to keep it not quite hidden, but questionable at best, at least how it works and how strong it is. And that's great. We don't need it to be a huge mystery, but keeping it somewhat cloudy is perfect. Now, Rhea tries to do a lot of things, and she fucks up all the time because she thinks she has a great idea and it just fails because she's not that experienced, and she keeps fucking up more and more because she thinks people wants the best. What she doesn't realize is a lot of people are greedy, self-absorbed, and only really care about themselves. And then that's like Rhea goes through a lot of growth here, learning how the world actually is and how she's seen and her place in it. In a way where you go, wait, doesn't she already know? And she kind of does, but don't really want to admit it. And it's great for once reading about a character taking on a major leading role in a revolution, and she fails constantly. Constantly she fucks it up. The princess almost had a peace deal going, and what does she do? She fuck it up, thinking that no one, like, that it's gonna fail. And she even herself goes, oh yeah, the revolutionaries want peace, and the princess wants peace, everybody wants peace. And then I just didn't believe it. And everyone goes, why didn't you believe it? Who did not want peace? And she goes, I don't know, but maybe someone didn't. And people just look at her like she's dumb, because she is dumb for that. But yeah, she gets a lot of growth. We learn about a lot of savages also going on, because suddenly the princess has to start being rough and actually follow the nobles' suggestion of treating the colonies like scum and all that. And it's horrible, and it's great fun, and it's very reflective on the real world for North Africa and Arabia. And it's tough to say, because it's a very common theme when reading these books, that is a tagging theme, and it's always done differently, but it always comes down to the same thing, that very few of the white people were good and nearly all the black people were good. Like it is a bit one-sided in my opinion a lot of the time. I would have loved for it to be more nuanced. I think Rhea is a great example of how nuanced can be done well. I also think the princess is a great example too. I would have loved to see more. A third character is the son of one of the nobles, where his argument is just like, yeah, I was born here. This is my home. I might be white, but this is my home. And then they get to think, oh wait, hopefully in a few years we're gonna have people who are born, a lot of people who's gonna be born here, who's gonna be white because of people came from France. But we're also gonna have hopefully a lot of mixed. What are we gonna say they are? Are they the same? And we do have some thoughts, but I just wish these stories got a bit more nuanced and delved a bit more into the nuance instead of not quite black and white, but a bit too black and white in my opinion. And another thing I realized when reading this book, and it was kind of funny, because at first I thought, oh, that's really weird, and then at second I was like, no, it's not weird, it's just me not thinking. A lot of characters in this book are female, like 90% of the important characters are female. It is very female-led. I was like, that's really weird, why are there so few men? And then I'm like, wait a minute, in most other fantasy books the gender is completely reversed. Why are there always so few female? It doesn't matter. So, kudos to you, C.L. Clarke, for making me reevaluate my biases in that way. So, in the end, we do get a somewhat, the oppressors leave, the colonizers leave, and Rhea stays behind, and they're free somewhat, but there's a lot of rebuilding to do and stuff like that. And I don't know if I like that ending for it. I think it was too easy to get this overwhelmingly strong army out. I really don't think that it should have finished in this book. It should have had 1 or 2 more books of revolutionary fights. Even though they did get, back up and all, I really don't think they should have been able to win. And at no point did I feel like they were winning until they suddenly won, because God. And it's a bit, so, I don't know. But it's a fine book. Would I recommend this? Yes and no. It's a good debut. It's a really good debut novel. I think this entire revolutionary storyline against a colonial force is done better out there. I of course can't come up with any examples, but I don't think this is gonna be the best example you can find out there. However, if you want it to be nearly purely female-led, this is probably one of the best ones. It is an interesting story along the way. I also do like that the character is definitely far from a Mary Sue. She almost dies constantly and she fucks up constantly, but yeah. It's a decent middle of the road book. Great. I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up the rest of the series. My girlfriend was the original who picked it for our bookshelf, so once she read it, maybe she'll be like, oh, we should get the rest, and then I might read them. But if she's not gonna be picking up the rest of them, don't expect me to do it either. Yeah, that is all. Happy New Year, and hopefully we're gonna get many more interesting books in this 2026. And leave a like, comment, and some. But